to the No More Late Fees podcast. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Danielle, and we're just two best friends and ex-Blockbuster employees rewatching some of the best and worst movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. This week, we are talking about the 1997 sci-fi horror film Cube, with, of course, one of our besties, Sam. Welcome, Sam.
Hello.
Third time's a charm. If you want to get to know Sam a little bit better, pause and go check out his trailer and go check out his other episodes. He has done 13 Ghosts with us and what's
Mummy
the other one?
Returns.
The Mummy Returns.
The Mummy Returns. How could I forget that? But before we dive in, let's get into some housekeeping. If you love the podcast and want to support us, here's a few ways that you can.
Did you know? I bet you did, because we tell you every week. Writing a review and or rating us helps us get more listeners. So if you want to be featured and help us grow, head to your favorite podcasting platform and leave us a review.
And make sure you hit the subscribe button when you get there to make sure that you are getting alerts when our new episodes are live.
And guess what? We have an Amazon store. We have affiliate links for a bunch of super awesome stuff on Amazon, things we've personally purchased and love and want to share with our listeners. So if you head on over to our bio links and click on our Amazon storefront, check out our items. We have stuff for going to Disney, stuff for camping, office supplies.
A brand new Halloween inspiration. I know we are in spooky season, so if you're looking for 90s, 2000s inspired Halloween costumes, we have put some suggestions together to help along with that process. So you definitely should check that out.
So Danielle, what is Cube about?
Well, it's a lot. I'm just glad we're back to doing a movie. It's been so long. Thanks for everyone sticking in with us with our fun 90s, 2000s content. But yeah, Cube, it's Canadian. So we're staying within the strike parameters. Yeah. It's from 1997. And the premise is, without remembering how they got there, several strangers awaken in a prison of cubic cells, some of them booby-trapped. There's one-time cop Quentin, Dr. Holloway, young math genius Leaven, master of escapes Rennes, master of escapes Rennes, autistic savant Kazan, and architect Worth, who might have more information on the maze than he lets on. The prisoners must use their combined skills if they are to escape. Starring Nicole Boer, Nicky Guadagni, hope that's right, David Hewlett, Andrew Miller, Julian Richings, Wayne Robson, and Maurice Dean Wint. Canadian. The movie was directed by Vincenzo Natali and was written by Andre Bijelic, Graham Manson, and Vincenzo Natali. You can currently watch it on YouTube. There are other places you can watch it, but this is the safest thing that I can promote right now during the strikes. But before we start, let's get into our ratings rewind.
So you know the drill. Before we get into the movie, we'll reveal the rating our Y2K versions of ourselves would give. Then at the end, we'll see if our current selves agree with our initial rating. Our scale consists of would buy it again.
The best, would plan repeat.
5-day rental.
Would watch again.
2-day rental.
Okay, but nothing to write home about.
And same-day rental.
Straight up trash, garbage, throw it outside the cube into the nothingness and die.
R.I.P. Holloway. Sam, what is your Y2K rating of Cube?
I think my Y2K rating would have been a 5-day rental. I think 2000s me would have been like Yeah, this movie is cool.
Danielle?
Never saw it. This was my first time.
It wasn't too scary.
No, it was more of a psychological thriller with some
Gore.
killings. Yeah.
And this is a would buy. I loved this movie as Y2K Jackie, and I'm pretty sure I owned it on DVD.
Nice. I remember seeing the cover, but I think I confused it. There's another movie called The Box or something, right?
There is a movie for The Box, and there's also, I just got it confused with The Cell.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a lot of squares happening. So the budget, this is a truly indie movie. The budget was $350,000 in Canadian money. I don't know what that is. CAD? What? I don't know.
Canadian dollars. Yeah.
Yeah. And the movie ended up making $8.9 million worldwide, which is a very good payback for less than $500,000.
Yeah.
For the budget. It is native in its native and its native Canada. The movie was actually given bad distribution and little marketing by its distributor, Cineplex Odeon Films, which resulted in the movie being a box office flop in Canada. However, later the movie actually became a box office hit in France. But because the movie's Canadian producers had earlier sold the French film rights for a small flat fee, they never got to share any of the massive French box office revenue. Ain't that a bitch? Damn. Well,
part of the reason why the budge was so low was because the effects company Core, C-O-R-E, wanted to show their support for the Toronto film industry. So they did all of the digital effects for free.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely going to keep the budget low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that there was a lot of special effects that was wowing a person, but it wasn't horrible. I've seen worse.
I mean, that first one where the man gets cubed up by the wires.
Yeah.
I really liked it. It was very reminiscent of 13 Ghosts, where the guy gets sliced in half by the door.
And Resident Evil.
Yes.
It looked like a cake.
Right?
Sliced perfectly.
Funfetti bald man cake.
The entire cast were pretty much unknown Canadian actors. So they've all gone on to do bigger and better things. But yeah, it's definitely an indie darling for sure. And because it made so much money, it spawned a sequel and a prequel. So there's to that, which Sam is a fan of the sequel, correct? Or is it the prequel?
No, it's the sequel. I got this movie confused with the sequel.
You didn't have to explain it again. I just was saying you're a fan. I'm not.
Yeah. I'm copping to it.
We'll get to Hypercube one day, and you will definitely be our guest for that. Before we get into it, because it's literally set in one room, the entire like they pretend like they're going from cube to cube to cube, but really the set was literally just one cube. And the way they shot it was they shot all of the red cube scenes and then all of the blue cube scenes. And that was done really low budget. They just changed the gel panels that you see. And so I thought that was kind of cool. The shooting schedule for this was 20 days, which is super quick. And I'm sure that the cast, after being pretty much confined to this one cube for 20 days with people you don't really know that well, was probably a huge undertaking once they were getting to the end. So I thought that was really neat how they did that. Almost like Saw, where everything was kind of like in one room.
A lot of people say that this is like the spiritual precursor to Saw, or could have potentially inspired Saw because of that element. I want to say that like the acting progressively got better, but
I
there
I
were
wrote
some moments where I was just like, what in the this is a y'all are
They sounded like they were in high school doing a play at some points. Like
yeah,
the delivery on some of these things, I was just like,
this is I
I
feel like
wrote
let
down
put me in coach.
it felt like they went to the William Shatner school of overacting at some points, where it was just like the emphasis was on every word. And I'm like, oh, what is happening here?
I have nothing special. I'm just a girl. I know. But the quadratic equation for this is I'm like, bitch, you
These
fucking
are
know math.
Cartesian coordinates.
Right. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, it was a lot, but I feel like if we like I like the indie feel of this, but I feel like if like we remade it today with some really great actors, it would be so riveting. Like you wouldn't be able to take your eyes off of it. Like the
Right.
emotional drama that could have potentially been, because like the only thing about this movie is like because their acting is so uneven, it kind of takes you out of the movie and you're just
Yeah.
like, well, I really don't care about any of these people by the end. You're just kind of like,
I was like, they can all die.
yeah.
And I was actually hoping that's how it would end.
Almost all of
Like,
them did.
yeah.
We can get
Oh,
into
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So the first shot is just an eyeball looking around. Someone's waking up in one of the rooms of the cube. I call him Bald Man because we never find out his name. He is the one that climbs into the next room.
Anderson.
Oh, thank you.
It's on his jumpsuit.
His prison jumpsuit. So he's trying to figure shit out. And so every room is a cube. Sometimes they're different colors, but they all look identical otherwise. And they all have these hatches. And my brain, because my brain is always at Disney, like the first thing I thought was like, it's a room with no windows and no doors. From Haunted
Is that the
Mansion.
Tower of Terror?
Haunted Mansion.
Oh.
So that was my thought, but it does have these hatches and then you open them and then it's just more cubey rooms. It's like a giant ass Rubik's Cube if you were in the cube of a Rubik's Cube.
Exactly that.
I would feel bad for anyone who's claustrophobic.
Yes.
To have to like wake up and you're there and you don't know who these people are.
And there's just no way out. No, they say there's no ventilation. I'm like, how these bitches be breathing then?
Right.
It's just stale air. It's hot, stale air. Does not sound comfortable.
And you know someone farted.
Oh, okay. So they had to like poop in some of those cubes. You know that, right? They had to use cubes as like
Kazan, is that how you say his name?
Kazan.
He pees in the corner of one and they're all so mad. I'm like,
yeah,
boy has to pee. Like, what else do you want him to do?
Right.
At first I thought he was jacking off and I'm like, well, that's inappropriate, but he's also special needs.
Right.
So I could see where he's just like, I'm uncomfortable. Let me do something to make me feel better. Like,
each character was just like an exaggerated version of different, I would say, archetypes of human beings. So like, obviously the eyeball Anderson, he goes and tries to explore, goes to another cube not knowing, and he gets sliced the fuck up. And then we're in the space and we meet Quentin, who is an ex-cop or is a cop.
Yes.
And he is like super alpha male, super aggressive. And so for me, it's really hard. The lens, like every time I watch anything, it's very difficult for me to like just take race out of it and just say it's just a movie, but I was just like, I feel so torn because yay, representation. There's a Black man. He is a lead. He's talking a lot. But he is
the angry Black man.
He is the angriest of the Black men, and the misogyny within him was a lot. And then when we got that interaction between him and
Leaven.
No.
Holloway.
Oh no,
that
was a lot, because Holloway gave me very much, I mean, they called each other out on their shit, right? When they had that altercation. But Holloway was definitely like the quintessential white feminist. Like 100% gave those vibes. Like, I morally am on a higher level than everyone else, and I'm going to tell you what's happening. What is my existence is everyone's existence. And so that was very interesting to see. And then for me, Leaven played the like younger version, still naive version of what she possibly could get to a Holloway characteristic, which is, you know, sheltered, naive, highly intelligent, but hasn't like learned how to like stand up for herself or anything like that, but also feeling like morally more on a higher ground than others. And what you call it, worth, literally had no worth in himself. Like, he was a slacker essentially, and just like over it. He doesn't officially really step up, I would say, until
almost
he starts. Yeah, but like he, in protection of Leaven, essentially, I feel like that's when he doesn't really try to protect Holloway as much, but
no,
Leaven,
he is kind to Kazan.
Yeah. And then Kazan, his character, the just, oh, it just hurt my heart to watch the rudeness, the arrogance, the ableism of it all.
Yeah, like it's the that, because he's supposed to be like, that's a representation of autism. Like they're playing it up to like 11,
right?
But yeah, like he's stimming, he's like
right.
hyperfixation on numbers and patterns and stuff. But like they like they really cranked it up, and then like they made Quentin like English.
And it brings up some good questions. I think like everything that happens in this cube brings up real questions that would possibly happen in a scenario of like, as human beings, because we have all these layers and levels of societal norms, if we get down to basics, would we still carry those with us, right? Like, they find him, Kazan, and they are willing to just leave him behind because they feel like he has no value, like he has to add something to the group, instead of just like, we're human, we should all like protect each other, we should have build community. And I think that spoke to me so much, because it's so relevant to a lot of the things that we're still talking about today, that do you have to contribute, which I think is like the whole capitalism thought process, like that you have to be worth something to be worthy of living and being able to live in a safe environment. So I just thought that was really interesting that Quentin was the voice of that, of like, we can leave him behind. And the rest of them really weren't fighting to say, yeah, let's keep him, until after Holloway fought to say, let's keep him. Like, that he deserves to be taken care of, and he doesn't need to add anything. Funny thing is that he does add value later, but like, that was frustrating.
Yeah, and I would have, sorry. I would have liked to almost see Holloway, instead of having her profession be a doctor, have her like have a family member who has special needs. And so like that's how she can connect with them and calm him down and things like that. I felt like, and I know it's just baked into the character, but like the doctor thing added to her aloofness, where I think it would have made her way more relatable if she was just like someone's sister. And that's why she was there, because she knew how to comfort this person who actually had the abilities that was potentially going to get them out of the cube.
Plus all the things that they did to react to him in that kind of situation with someone with his traits would have never worked. Like I couldn't imagine being able to tell him to be quiet and he would have been able to do it.
Yes. However, I was a special needs teacher and we had to do active shooter drills. And my students were so quiet because they could sense my urgency when I was like, this is serious. We need to, and they didn't make a peep. And I had kids that like verbally stemmed nonstop. So I think like in the right conditions, and it's not applicable obviously to all special needs or people with disabilities, but it can happen. I've also seen like kindergarten teachers, they'll give their students like lollipops in order to keep them quiet during like situations like that. So if anything ever happened, that's their strategy for keeping them quiet. That's a side note.
I was surprised that he didn't need to see the gumdrops when it was offered. Like, I'll give you the bag of gumdrops if you do X, Y, and Z. I was surprised that he didn't like say, well, where the hell is that shit already? You know?
Yeah, because usually it's especially if it's like an ABA therapy, it's like, okay, good job, here's your reward almost immediately, not something that is intangible at the moment. Like it's only a concept right now. It's not immediate, or it's not in his view where he's like, okay, those gumdrops are right there, so I know what you're promising me is going to happen, type thing. But he also like cognitively, he had a lot of understanding. It was the trust building before they could get more out of him. So I think we've run down all the characters except for Rennes, right? He's not with us very long. So he's just this old guy. Eventually everyone comes into the cube where Quentin wakes up.
Where Worth wakes up.
Thank you.
Quentin comes up from the floor, and like Worth is like on the floor, just like unconscious, and he like wakes him up. And then like Holloway comes from like a side room, and of course Quentin, being a cop and like thinking it's a intruder, almost kills her immediately. And then I just forgot her name.
Oh, Leaven.
Leaven is in another room. He comes and gets her. She doesn't know there's traps. He saves her. And then Rennes comes in from the ceiling. And they're like, and then everyone is in the same room.
Yeah, and we don't meet Kazan till a little bit later.
Everyone comes into one cube, and then they start. Rennes is like, some of the rooms are booby-trapped. You have to be careful. You can't just go from room to room. And they're all kind of like side-eyeing him, like, how does this old dude know this? And then he like takes off his boot and like makes his shoestrings really long. And so he's using his boot to test if there's a booby trap in the next room. And that's how they're progressing from room to room to begin with. But he knew a lot about sensors. And then that's when Quentin puts it together like, hey, are you Rennes, the one that's escaped from 6 prisons? And he's like, actually, it's 7. I know a lot about escaping. So
I just think it's interesting because like whenever we've seen it in reality shows, we see it different scenarios, that there's always a person that ends up either being pushing themselves to be a leader, or someone that everyone in the group ends up choosing as a leader, which I just find to be very interesting. But I also wonder if that is our nature, or if that is just how we've been conditioned. Because it's hard to tell nowadays, because we have been conditioned so much. So I always find that really interesting. And but Quentin becomes a leader, and I don't think it's because they choose him.
No.
But I believe that if Ren had stayed alive, that the two of them would have been kind of butting heads, and that Ren probably would end up being the leader because he was less violent alpha male than the
Ren
rest.
was the only one at the beginning willing to stand up to Quentin and be like, hey, I know some shit too. And it almost is like, well, you're a cop and I've escaped from prison 7 times. So obviously I might be just a little bit smarter than you.
Right.
Type thing. But he did not account for acid to the face.
Well, yeah, he didn't expect that it wouldn't be sensors, but it would detect if it was actually a thing or a alive person or being. And that's where he got. And the way that his face got, I mean, it was bad. Like his face, you could see the insides.
It was a slow burn, pun intended.
Literally.
Because at first you're like, oh, it's just going to take out his eyeballs and he can't see anymore. But that shit kept on working and just ate his whole face off.
I will say, I love the scene because right before that, he gives like the most epic speech where he's just like, I'm just going to go straight. If you need I only stayed with you guys because I need your boots. You slow me down even a little bit, I'll cut you loose. Just keep going forward. Don't think about anything but what's in front of you. You gotta save yourselves from yourselves. That's what's important. Jumps into another room, here's a trigger, it's like, man, and gets hit in the face with acid.
It's amazing.
It's bad. That's like a real bad way to go.
Oh,
it's an awesome way to go.
Yeah.
2/3 of us thoroughly enjoyed the acid to the face.
I'm a third. I'm definitely those thirds.
It's not that I didn't like it. I was just like,
I mean,
gosh,
it feels like that's cracking. Also, Quentin throws people around. He suplexes the doctor first thing.
Yep.
He's throwing people through hatches to see if rooms are booby-trapped. Like, does he have superpowers? Like, where is he getting the super strength from?
Right.
He's a cop, and he's been like, I'm assuming he keeps in shape because he looks kind of fit. And like all these other people, like the other person is an engineer, probably a 20-year-old college student, a skinny doctor, and Kazan looks maybe like $150.
I feel like Kazan, if he
got mad enough,
rage out. I was thinking that he would, but he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna mind my business."
You could tell like the area around it, just as it on its face, was too much stimulation for him already. So like, he was talking about like rooms he didn't like just because of the color. So like he wasn't gonna have enough to just attack Quentin.
Yeah, and Quentin was so triggered. Like, this man has 3 children, so I've already learned that he has no patience for his children, because the moment Kazan starts to cry and get upset, rightfully so, he's like yelling at him and yelling about, it's like his emotional needs had to be met before everyone else's. Like, y'all better get him under control. Why, sir? Why? Like, we ain't really going nowhere. And I think you could take a breath. Like, him crying is not really hurting you. Which he just had toxic masculinity all around.
There are some really choice lines that are said in this movie. One of them is when the doctor starts yelling, "Holy cats."
Holy cats. Holy cats. Holy cats.
I'm like, what are we doing here? Are we not cursing? Are we because we just acided the guy's face. So this is gonna get an R rating regardless. Like,
Right.
holy cats.
I think it was established that she was a bit quirky.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't just like a by the book doctor. She
That's
was
true.
because
And then
she's also conspiracy theorist kind of
Which
person.
I loved
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
I love that about her. I love that about us. Yes, it is the big government. Yes, I'm with you.
Yes,
It's
it is
either
big government.
aliens or big government because I don't see anything else. I was with her. And when these men were trying to gaslight her, tell her, oh, no. He was like legit. What's his name? Worth was trying to tell her that this was some project that multiple people started and it was just like
A nothing thing.
money got lost. But
Yeah.
Worth, whose money Worth? Who started the project Worth?
And why are we all here if it's a nothing project?
Right. You lying, Worth. You a liar. And then nobody wants to talk about how Quentin was paranoid as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he should be, but it was aggressively so.
Yeah.
It sounded like his wife was leaving him and taking his kids because of shockingly his abusive nature and the fact that he liked fucking underage girls. I don't know if he was actually fucking them. I meant that for emphasis, but it could have been applicable.
Well, the way that he snatched up Leaven in the middle of the night, and I was like, he's giving rapey vibes. Like, what is this? Tell me he wasn't trying to go, like, you want to get out of here?
He was groping her.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain he was erect. That scene where he had her from the behind, like you saw her face. Like I feel as though like he was, because he was talking about keys and locks and you're the key, the perfect key, the lock. We all have purpose. I'm like, oh my, like very sexually assaulting.
I just felt like in that analogy, she should have been the lock and he should have been the key. I know this is just not that important, but my brain was like, what? Oh, that don't make no sense. Like that like, took the urgency out of it because I was like, what do you mean? That, sir. And also like he was like, oh, it's supposed to be two, a man and woman. I said, okay, now you're homophobic as well. Like there's a lot of stuff going on with you, bruh.
Quentin has
I wish
layers.
there was a black woman in that cube.
Not in a good way.
That mask started peeling as soon as like after a certain like there's like a point where it just where he gets red and then from there it's just like then the mask just starts crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that Dr. Holloway was a black woman because the way she would have ate that man up. Okay.
That would have
ate him up. And she wouldn't have died either. He would have been dead immediately. Immediately. Go ahead and try to smack me up. See what happens.
She would have taken her stiletto right to the jugular.
She would have trapped his bitch ass. She would have talked to Heaven in the corner and say, tell this, I had to watch my mouth. Tell this man is safe. Let him go first. And there you go.
Yep.
Like 30 minutes into the movie, she probably would have let him too.
And everybody's like, oh, you can't go. You're too heavy. I'd let his ass go first. Yeah. That would have been the first way I'd have dropped his ass.
And they'd be like, oops, you were too heavy. Sorry.
The only thing that I find redeeming is that, yes, the black man is the only person of color gets killed in this movie, but he's an absolute asshole. So it's like, we want it.
Mm-hmm.
It's justified. Still not happy about it, but
and he made it almost to the end of the movie.
Yeah. I like at one point I was like, oh my God, is he gonna be the final guy? Shook it. Surprised.
very surprising.
So also to note, at intervals, they can hear some sort of mechanical noise and sometimes feel a vibration. So they're trying to figure out what that is as well. Oh, the other words of wisdom from Ren before his face melts off is suck on your buttons.
Right. They deliver, because if you suck on it, keeps the saliva flowing. That's a weird way of, like, he snatches a button off of somebody and then hands it to them, says suck on it, and then shows that he himself is sucking on the button and says, keeps the saliva flowing. And I'm never gonna forget that whole dialogue. I'm never gonna forget it. Which is so random and yet so like, what?
You're going to be parched somewhere and not have immediate access to a drink and be like, wish I had a goddamn button right now.
That would have been very helpful in my highness in Chicago when I thought I was going to die from dehydration drought in my mouth. Good to know.
That was when
Suck
you
on a button.
turned into Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's and I just had to drag you around. Shoving ravioli in your mouth at 1 a.m.
Oh, man.
But we digress. Next time we'll know. I'll make you suck. But then I'd be responsible for when you choke on the button. It'd be a whole other thing.
Facts. You know what, Jackie? You tied a string around the button and yanked that shit if I try to swallow it.
It's like the long string and then you're pulling stuff up, so you're gonna yak.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
Not good. Oh, and then Dr. Holloway is also very concerned about her rings and her amethyst.
Oh, my amethyst! They took my amethyst.
But they let Leaven keep her glasses.
Mm-hmm. So they're like,
even though just reading glasses.
Yeah. They're like, that's suspicious. And then she's like, hey, there's these numbers as we pass through each hatch. I like math. I think these are prime numbers. Some of them are prime numbers, and those are the bad rooms. And so then she starts calculating prime numbers every room they check to see if it's clear. And so far, her theory has been correct. So they're making some movement through the rooms because Leaven has her glasses and is able to identify prime numbers.
Wait, just one thing. When she solves it the first time, when she tests the theory, she like goes first, and she's just like, prime numbers, prime numbers, prime numbers, prime numbers. I'm like, well, okay, okay.
It seems like Leaven gets less unhinged. Like at the beginning, she's just completely like,
such bad acting.
I like math. Prime numbers. My glasses are smashed, but I'll wear them anyway because I can't see the numbers. And then like towards the end, she actually starts growing a backbone and like screaming at people and like, bitch, I'm going to get us out of here. You coming or not? Like,
I just want to let you know, I'm going to be so unhinged in the cube because a bitch ain't no food. Is he here over there? Oh, hell no. What you say, Quentin? There's no food. There's no food.
I know. I thought about that too.
And there's no air circulating. I'm already like people are fighting for the mic. It's bad news. It's not working out. I was already when I was thinking there's no fire, so they can't eat each other. Damn.
I mean, you could. It'd just be sushi style.
It would be. You'd be dead.
I just imagine you taking your clothes off because there's no air.
Right.
And running in a circle in the cube. Like you're going to get out somehow, but just running in a circle and just.
First of all, Jackie, when have you ever seen me run?
Well, just pacing in a circle. Like
I would sit my ass in a corner and say, you know what? Y'all call me when you figure this out. Just like when we do panic rooms together and you start taking over, I'm just like, you just let me know when you figure it out. Because I ain't gonna fight nobody.
Give me a combination and I'll enter it into the lock.
Right. I'll carry my weight, but like I'm not trying to fight over no stupid shit. Y'all in the other room yet? Okay. Let me get up.
Did you
And I
get
would just be
sliced into birthday
transferring.
cake?
Yeah.
We good? Okay.
Because there ain't no way.
So let me.
I did like that, like Dr. Holloway wanted to know a reason why they were there. Why did we get chosen? Why are we here? She needed to know. And I was like, you're giving such Virgo Gemini energy right now.
She also randomly needed to smoke, and she hadn't smoked in years. I'm like, couldn't we be like, I'm hungry? Or like,
but that's how she handles her stress. For
I guess
me, it would have been like, I need goldfish. Ain't nobody got pocket. You ain't got nothing on you.
They leave snacks in any of these rooms.
I always carry snacks. Even when I'm kidnapped, I bet you in my bra there gonna be some snacks. There's no way. Ain't no way.
Oh, my emergency ho-ho. I'm so glad I stuck it there.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna start prepping.
I was gonna just say, remember yourself. I gotta keep like a Ziploc bag of cashews in my boxers for now.
Just safety pinned in there.
Just keep it like pinned in the waistband, just in case, you know.
Just sew a little pocket in, and just this for your snacks. You know, we all need snack packs.
How to Survive a Horror Movie by Jackie, Sam, and Danielle.
I know people think that maybe the snacks would be the best place would be in the cups, but I actually would put it in the back, like on the strap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can fit a mini bottle of alcohol in between my boobs. Oh, so I do know that.
So you'll be drunk in the corner.
And hotter.
Yeah.
And dehydrated her.
How's that plan working out for you?
We gotta live. I gotta live. I'm not getting through this cube without some sustenance of drugs or alcohol. Okay.
You're gonna be like the chef on the Titanic who just drank and his body temperature rose, so it kept him warm.
Yeah.
I bet it's so hot and like swampy in those cubes.
So swampy.
And I know Quentin ain't using real good deodorant too. That would piss me off more than anything.
I bet he thinks musty. He doesn't smell. Like I don't need to use deodorant. I don't smell.
Or his man musk is sexy.
Oh, no, there's no way.
Like that's his natural male sense is, you know.
I would sleep with the women before I even look at that man. Okay.
I bet I'm not into women. Axe body spray. He looks like he does.
No, he's using that Old Spice old man, like not the new hip marketing version, but like the old school one. Or like he's into oils and like, what are those things called?
The little vial colognes.
Yes.
That they sell at on the tables.
Yes.
And, like, on,
Sam, you already knew, Sam. You already know.
You take a little too and you dab it here.
He smelled like that. He smelled like one of those neo soul new
yes.
age. And he's also borderline to the
Well,
Hotep. You're right.
When he started talking about I'm a man and the man and the woman, key and a lock, I was like, okay.
Hotep pipeline right there.
Yep.
Okay. It's so funny because I just saw a TikTok where somebody said white people know what Hoteps are. They know what Hoteps are now, and they're talking about it. And I'm like, what? I don't like this. I don't like it. Me no like it. I don't like Hoteps as it is. But white people knowing about that scares the shit out of me because what could they do with that knowledge?
Yeah, television shows.
Jackie, I could go on for days about hoteps, but one of my favorite things of the spectacles that you can see in New York is a corner with a bunch of like they're wearing gold. They look
and
like
purple
gold
girl
and
in purple tunics, and they're like preaching about like Ra and like how like the sun and like we as a people and like a bunch of other stuff of like how like like how evolution and God and like all this stuff. It gets and it's just literally just like 5, 6, 7 of them just sitting there all in robes just yelling about
It's
stuff.
hot as fuck, and y'all are wearing gleaming ass gold. That shit is. I know you baking. I know you are, and y'all. They take pro black to a whole nother. I don't even know what that shit is.
Nah,
Okay,
it is a mystic art at that point.
Oh Lord, but yes, Quentin is a hotep for real. If he's not fully one, he's on the pipeline. He about to sign up.
When it all starts to sweat and like everything starts to break away, you see who the people really are. When
Yeah,
they're like in that stressful situation. He got real hopey all of a sudden, and like
it's a
that
man
works
and
great.
a woman and locking the key. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the man is the head, and the woman is the tail, and forward, and the woman is a sheep to the man.
I think he said woman at one point during the movie, and I was like, this.
Oh no, the scene between him and Holloway. He starts off by calling her woman. So I was like, oh, this is going to be like some grade A misogyny. I'm about to hear it. Watch. And I was not disappointed. I was just like,
And like the actor, it wasn't great acting. He was so overacting, and his facial expressions on top of it. There were times I had to pause and I was cackling. Okay.
Sometimes I wish you would record yourself just watching some of these movies. The way you react, especially if it's a movie you've never seen before. Like, it would have been really good for Demon Night if you had recorded yourself watching it.
It was fun because it's really fun, like you said, if I've never seen it and it's an unhinged movie, but it's even more fun when I watch it with my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Because her reactions are nothing. My reactions are nothing in comparison to how she's like. If she saw that, she would have been cussing that man out. Should have watched it with
small,
Rena.
but she is mighty.
Yeah. She would have taken that man's kneecaps out for real, for real.
So we're in a room, and they've tried all the other doors except for the ceiling. And so they open a ceiling and a poor man falls through. And I was like, he would be dead. That's not a small room. Like, they have to climb up stuff and monkey bar across.
Right, because when Quentin falls through at the end, we find out he didn't die, but he had a pool of blood on his head when he fell.
But this is how we're introduced to Kazan. And then you immediately know he has special needs. He just keeps repeating this room is green. He's rocking. He's stemming. And then, so Dr. Holloway takes care of him. She knows how to talk to him and use calming strategies and things like that. But prior to that, she goes into another cube and starts choking. They're like, gas. And she was like, no, I swallowed my button. So the part of Danielle would have been played by Dr. Holiday in this situation, or Holloway in this situation.
I don't know if I would have swallowed my damn button. I don't know what she was doing. I could sleep with a cough drop and not choke. That bitch is an amateur.
That's dangerous.
I'm fine.
Danielle.
The faces you both had.
No, they were concerned faces. They were concerned.
The Lord is watching over me. I'm fine.
He
I don't
can't
do
be
it all the
watching
time.
you all the time. He has to watch other people too.
That's why
Also,
he's
the
got his
Lord-
angels and his strongest soldiers watching over me.
He does those who do for themselves, and if you do yourself in, he's gonna take that. So
It's not an everyday thing, but sometimes when I'm real sick and I can't breathe through my nose, I got to have me a cough drop.
Then sit up and finish it before you lay down and go to sleep.
Just know I love you both if I die, because I ain't never gonna stop with my cough drops.
Yeah.
I
Okay?
feel like it's just like that's gonna be in a memorial video.
I know. It's just going to be this episode where you're just, and we're like, we tried to tell her and she wouldn't listen.
And then it's just
And
like she says that, and then it goes black to white, and then it's like they just like slowly pan out, and they're just like, meet me at the crossroads.
Oh yes, make sure my mom plays that song at the
Okay.
funeral, because I just don't think it gets enough play at funerals. You know, I don't want real quiet songs. I want top 20 pop songs, you know? I want the Diddy version of
Missing You.
One Sweet Day.
And when that happens, I do want you hire someone who's doing that dance that Diddy does, like, you know?
If you need someone to ride a motorcycle and then crash said motorcycle and start this thing, that's me. I've already called dibs on like 2 different similar ideas. So
Amber has requested at her funeral that someone gets up and very seriously sings "I'll Make Love to You" like on the off.
Look, they did that in the Kimmy Schmidt show.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
And then halfway through, oh wait, this is the wrong Boys to Men song.
I have to finish Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Shayla, this is just a reminder that if I die first, you know what to do.
Oh. Amber, I know what to do if you die first.
You know what that sound means? It's another episode of Game for a Movie, where we ask, are you game for a movie?
Tell me, Andre.
There's no special features on that goddamn DVD, alright?
Oh, wow.
For Hansel and Gretel?
Hansel and
You
Gretel.
have a DVD
You watch it?
of
Yeah,
Hansel and Gretel.
She basically has sex with it somehow.
Yeah,
Foreplay.
yes.
She's chair foreplay.
I mean, they knocked it out of the park, which is why it's my number 3. So.
Oh! Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't be in it because this movie doesn't have women. But, you know, it's
You-
fine.
It has
You're right.
It has one.
You would have 3 lines of dialogue.
No, she has more than 3.
Oh, okay. So I'm actually gonna get, I earn my 4 sentences of dialogue rather than, here, have a paycheck. You just stood there on the screen. You're a sexy lamp.
Super form.
Oh,
Anyway, we're not.
Dark Phoenix 2.
No.
No.
Because they really hate each other, so we get to enjoy some wonderful comedic scenes of them hating each other so much that they get into physical altercations that include her biting ex-detective Phillips's dick.
Okay.
But we don't. Okay. In a hot tub.
I know all of those words were English, but the way you constructed them, I'm lost.
I'm not finding their range of them very well. For those who haven't rated us or liked or given us a review, don't say that we haven't given you anything of value after listening to this podcast. You now know the difference between an R-rated dick and an NC-17 X-rated dick. You're welcome.
Thank you guys for listening to Game for a Movie, where we ask, are you game for a movie? We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
So Quentin goes into a room that has been cleared. It doesn't have a prime number, but there are slicey wires that somehow he jumps out of before they close. And so he's only sliced on his arm and his leg, but he's blaming everyone but himself for this. And he's fighting the doctor, and she's like, calm the fuck down. I'm trying to help you. And you keep moving, and you got a giant gash on your leg.
Which never slows him down afterwards.
Never. I thought for sure when they had to the sound room with all the spikes.
Which was next.
Yes, like, and he's like having to like monkey bar. I'm like, your bicep is like showing. Like, how are you holding yourself up?
Oh, I thought he hurt his leg.
He hurt his.
He hurt both. Hurt both.
Yeah,
Oh,
he had a
first and
bandage around his
foremost,
bicep.
I would have been dead because I already know my upper body strength was not getting across those monkey bars. Okay.
I had the same thought. I was like, oh, I would
Ain't
hold
gonna-
on as long as I could, but I don't think that's very long.
What do they do in the Hunger Games when they're dead or they're
Other
off?
than-
That would have been it for me.
Well, if we're being honest, you would have never moved from the first cube. Therefore, you would have had the
fucking
way
right,
out
and you
the
know
whole
what?
time.
You know what? Wait.
So in this red room that Kazan does not like, he's closing his eyes, but he has to pee. This is where he's peeing. This is where Quentin and Worth get into an argument. And Quentin just starts beating the shit out of Worth.
Well, at one point, I don't know if it's before this, but Quentin does get Worth to, because Worth is like, I'm not worth anything, and blah, 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 blah. And then he gets him to admit that he actually worked to build the fucking exterior of this cube, and which validates his crazy thought process that he can't trust any of them, that they're moles. They're here spying on them. But it is real sus. Like, why? Like, you did a project, you didn't know what you were building?
Yeah.
I mean, he was just like, I never left my office. Like, they literally gave me, he designed like the blueprints for the exterior of the cube, and like a bunch of other people were assigned to design other parts of this thing, and he just didn't know what was it gonna build.
Right.
So
I never understand, like, I know everyone thinks differently. For me, I question everything. So like, I'm like, well, what is this? And where does it come from? And why are we doing this? And who is it for? Like, I could see myself being like, yeah, I'm not fucking building this. What is this?
So you don't get the contract.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's like,
And
who
guess,
asked the least
and
questions?
guess who's not in the fucking cube?
She has her snacks outside the cube. Thank you very
Right.
much.
You're out here not asking fucking questions. Could be building an atomic bomb, not even worried. Crazy.
So they start grilling him about the cube. He does say that there's one door and this didn't make sense. You only have 6 guesses and then it seals. So it felt like there was going to be some sort of weird combination at the door to get out, but there wasn't. Plot hole. So he does give them the dimensions of the exterior of the cube, which then, what's her name? Leaven does her brainiac math and is like, okay, there's 17,576 rooms. It's a 26 by 26 square cube, because he does say that there is a gap in between the cubes and the outer shell, like a sarcophagus is what he equates it to. And so she approximates the gap is 1 cube worth, is my assumption. Right. But then that's when her little brain starts going. She's like, wait a minute, I've been looking at these numbers all wrong. They're Cartesian coordinates, blah, blah, blah. So she calculates there are 7 rooms from the edge. And so they're moving through the rooms, and she gets to a room where the coordinates don't make sense, because it would have put them on the 27th cube. And she's like, that would have been outside of the cube. So that doesn't make sense. But they kind of just shrug it off. They continue to move. This is where we get to the room with the sound activated spikies. And so they tell Kazan he has to be really quiet, which he's so good about doing. Like, he did such a good job. And no one even told him he did a good job.
No.
And I would have laughed too at the end if Homeboy was just hanging out.
I thought he did a great job. He could have killed Quentin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just closed the hatch and said, "Ah." Quentin is almost
But like someone couldn't pretend to sneeze at that moment. Like, sorry, Quinn.
Right.
Take him out. And then so now Quinn is extra mad because he like swings into the hatch as all the spikies go up, and he starts beating up Kazan for like making one peep. And Quinn was taking his sweet ass time. I'm like, homeboy, you should have already been through the hatch. Like, why
Right.
are we still hanging out in this room?
Right.
Anyway, so then the doctor calls him a Nazi for beating up Kazan, and that does not go over well with Quentin.
Yes, Hoteps don't want to be called Nazis.
She's like, "What did you call me?"
And this is where she like calls a spade a spade. She's like, oh, no wonder your wife left you. You have a thing for young girls. You bottle up your anger. She's just going in at him.
Raiding him for filth.
In his mind, he's like, she got to go.
But wait, before that, he said some of the vilest things to her.
Yeah, he did. I was like, oh.
He was saying some like grade A misogyny stuff. Like he was
Wait. I was like, I know she's a tad bit Karenish, but I don't think she even deserves this. You are disgusting.
She didn't deserve at sentence 2, and he went to like sentence like 9.
Yeah.
And she was trying to protect someone who had a disability. Like,
right.
Ugh. So they get to the they're in the cube.
He smacks her too.
Like, oh yes, he does. He slaps the shit out of her. It didn't even feel like a slap. It felt like a knuckle slap, which is a punch.
Thanks for explaining that, Danielle. Like woo, okay. So now they are in the cube that should be on the outer end. So they open it and they can see the shell. They see the gap and they see the shell, but it's a cube distance away. And so they get the brilliant idea. Well, Quinn does. And like we said before, they should have just let him do it. He's like, we're going to tie all our clothes together and then I'm going to swing out and try and touch it. I don't know what he thought he was going to accomplish by getting close to the outer shell. But what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Holloway.
Leaven is like, no, I'm the lightest. I should do it. And then they're like, no, you're too valuable. And then Holloway's like, well, I'm second lightest. Let me do it. And they're like, bingo, we'll strap you up. And so she, go ahead.
I don't know where she was trying to go either. Like, what y'all doing?
Nothing.
Where are y'all swinging to? Because clearly
there was no like opening or anything.
Right. You're trying to go to another cube? I don't get it.
I would just see how far it was down, like drop something so I can listen.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, so it's that about that far down.
Right.
Math lady. Figure out math, how far down that is, and then just figure out from there.
And so while she's just swinging and jumping, rumbling starts happening. And so the cubes are shifting and it causes them to drop the rope, but Quentin catches it. And so he has Holloway by the hand, but then he was like, nah.
There's this moment, right?
Yeah.
When she realized and he made it look like it was like they were talking to each other with their eyes. He's like, bitch, I don't fucking forget what you said to me. Fucking dead. And she was just like,
R.I.P. Holloway.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and he's like, she slipped. And because He's a fucking dirty liar.
Yeah.
The way he went to the corner and tried to pretend as if he was sad, and the way he was trying to get one drop of something in his eyes. Oh my God.
He was so not convincing.
No.
Well, and they've been with you in this cube for hours, maybe a day. They know you fucking hate her. Who are you fooling, Quentin? Not us.
Honestly, like if I like the math was, he slapped her. I want to say less than 10 minutes before he dropped her.
Right.
So like it's fresh, like it's fresh. And he came back. He was like, she slept.
I bet he let go of her with the same hand he backhanded her with.
Oh,
he did. Because it was right, and then he did.
Damn.
The knuckle slap, Danielle.
It's his strong hand. I'm surprised he didn't say, give me the powder. So now they're like, okay, we need to keep moving. Quentin goes from trying to drop one tear to like, okay, Leaven, figure out some numbers. Let's see what we're doing. And
figure out some numbers, basically.
And she's like, I'm so tired and I just can't think. And Worth is like, yeah, man, we haven't slept for a long time. He's like, okay. Y'all can sleep for an hour. And so Worth says, well, how do you know how long an hour is? An hour is how long I say it is.
And that is
I was
right
just like,
the 1 hour mark. He says that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, good job. That was.
I want to just say that to somebody so bad. I want to say it to. I want Alexa to say that to me one day. Alexa set an alarm for an hour. An hour is how long I want.
I was just like, all right, so we're like full on. I am the alpha leader, and there is no sign. There is like no room for debate. What I say goes.
And then we see them fall asleep, and then next thing we know, this man is up and going and lifting Leaven. Like, Leaven, baby girl, you are not awake? Like, feeling someone carry you?
She is like, when toddlers pretend that they're like still sleepy, she's just like, what's going on? Where am I? I'm so tired. What are you doing? Like, she's just, it's the
Also,
worst.
Why are you pitching a tent in your boxers, sir?
How did he carry her from one room to another room?
Right, up the.
Because there's like each room has like there's about like it's about every time you get there like around your chest stomach area. So you would have to climb up. So did he climb up with her over his shoulder, open the hatch, and just like slide out?
Did he slide her through the, like, what was, is a lot. And then he just started talking crazy. I thought they were going to explain it that like he has lost air, he's gone crazy, like something, but no. And thank God Worth wakes up. He's like, somebody should just point at him and said, rapist. You give him rapey vibes right now. What the fuck's going on?
Worth is just like, all right, well, clearly you're losing it. We need to like separate from you. Give us the boot. And this afterwards is like my favorite freaking scene. Because he punches Worth in the face, goes over to Leaven, closes her eyes, and whispers in her ear, you don't want the boot. And then proceeds to beat the dog shit out of Worth with a boot. Like just, it's a cat of nine tails, just beating him while she's sitting against the wall, just like her eyes are closed. Kazan is like on her shoulder, just staring like, oh shit. like I'm scared, you're scared. Is it cool if I just stay comforted next to you?
Why? Like, yeah, she doesn't even try to help Worth. I'm like, there are 3 of y'all. Okay, there's 2 of y'all.
He is bleeding from the ear after that scene. Homeboy has like a good amount of like head trauma.
Yeah.
And it's like a combat boot that he is whipping at him by the shoelace.
Wham!
It's bad.
And
But
then he opens up the bottom cell and just throws Worth down there. Like she just like opens up the bottom cube and just slides Worth's body into the cube, and he just drops the entire way down.
Right.
Yeah,
it was something.
A lot going on.
Quentin
and
took a licking and kept on ticking. Like,
yeah,
he was beat several times, like full on boots to the chest. Like Quentin was stomping on him, like, and then he gets beat with the boot, like, and he's still going.
He pushes Worth down the thing and he falls down, and then he just starts laughing. So I'm just like, okay, so what's the how far down is it? Is it like if you fall, it just hurts? You fall, you die? Because like some people fall and they're like knocked out. Some people fall and they're fine. Some people are like, it's a concussion. I don't know, like, what the
yeah.
Maybe you just have to learn to land like Black Widow.
Well, I think maybe there's also metal pieces on the floor, so like if you hit that when you fall, that's gonna mess you up more than if you. I feel like Worth didn't hit anything on his way down, or I mean on the
But I feel like every time he landed on one of those fucking handles.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just crazy. And then Leaven has like an epiphany that I don't know if this is after they get rid of Quentin or not, but she has an epiphany that the middle cube, because they end up going, she finds a piece of glass that sticks in her foot and realize it's the glass from her glasses, and that they're back into the cube that she originally started in. She's like, what the fuck? And then she realizes that those little the movements that are happening, earthquakes, I was calling it, the shifts that are happening are the cube actually moving around, and that there's some sort of bridge that they can get to, almost like an elevator situation to get to a bridge to get out. So she starts to like realize that, you know, they would need to do the calculations, and Quentin is like badgering her about it, and she's like, look, this is high level. I need a computer, bitch. Okay. I need a T190 whatever calculator to help
Texas
with this
Instrument.
Yeah.
I need a Texas Instrument to do this.
They were both like permutations, and everyone else is like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Can you elaborate? But then she's like, I have to figure out how many permutations like 256 has, and Kazan's like 2.
Oh yeah, factors. How many different factors?
Sorry. Yeah. And she was like, oh shit, we have a calculator right here. That's the reason why he's in the cube. We finally figured it out. So this is when Worth starts promising all of the gumdrops on the planet.
Right.
He's like, every number you give me, that's another bag of gumdrops. I'm going to buy you the entire factory if we get out of this shit. And Kazan's like, cool, shout numbers at me. And so now they're making really good progress getting through these rooms to try and get to that 27 room that they know is the bridge to the door to get out of the cube. I forgot what happens after that.
Well, then when they go to the next cube, this is their chance to take out Quentin. Worth actually stands under the door and smashes the door under his neck and is just like pushing. I thought his neck was going to pop right off his head. I mean, but I don't know how they really bought time, because like, I don't know if he just needed time to like recuperate from being choked out like that, because I would have figured he would have been on their ass after that. And they were just real comfortable for a while. But what they end up doing, just clicked to me what happens. They get into the next room. Quentin does barge in, and he's looking for Worth, and he doesn't see Worth in the room, and Worth pulls him into another cube, and he's hanging on, and he falls to the bottom, and we see blood coming out of his head. But they should have been mathing on that so many people have fallen from the top and didn't die. So I don't know what they thought was happening here. And so they finally get to the final cube to take them to the bridge. When they open the door, they're like, oh shit, it's not leading to anywhere. And so Leaven is like, it takes some time. It's going to move eventually, and we won't have much time. So they do that. And then surprise, surprise, bitch, I'm back. Quentin stabs Leaven. I was surprised by this, that he didn't stab Worth first.
Because she was closer to the door. So one, they're all bad people because you have the entrance in front of you. And that's when Worth decides to pull his nihilist bullshit again, where it's just like, I have no life outside of the cube. I have nothing to live for. And they're just like, what? Just come on. The door's literally like 5 feet away. Let's just go. And she's trying to convince him. Her back is to the other door. And then that's where Quentin's all surprised and pale with because I took the iron bar off of one of the doors and used it to impale her and just toss her off, all kind of like Vision got impaled in Infinity War, and we're just like that. And we're like, oh.
It was bad. And then Worth is on the floor because he's been beat up and whatnot, and stabbed. And Kazan is the only one who actually walks. It's like this bright light, and so he walks through the bridge, and so Quentin is trying to get through, but here comes Worth with his last bit of strength pulling on Quentin's foot to prevent him from being able to go. And then the elevator part starts to shift and move, and all you see is a smear of blood. Want to smear a little smear on your bagel? There you go. A little Quentin smear. He did. And
Sam just walks into the light.
Yeah. We never see what's on the other side. We don't know who's behind it. No questions are answered. You're welcome.
That's how you do it.
There was a scene shot where it shows you what's beyond the door, but the director didn't put it in. I think he said for timing, but this movie was fairly short.
Yeah. I think it's actually really good because it feels like a thinking man's movie in some ways. And I think it's kind of Alfred Hitchcock of it to not answer the question. Yeah. Make you kind of guess. And it leaves it open that you could have a sequel.
This is fair too. Yeah.
This is how I have felt about Cloverfield, which is probably one of the top 10 good movies of all time. Because you've never seen Cloverfield?
Mm-mm. That's J.J. Abrams? Yeah. Or somebody else?
That's J.J. Abrams.
Okay. Sorry. No, haven't seen it.
Yeah, but anyway, they never explain the giant monster. And I feel like that's more realistic. You're just in New York and a giant monster attacks. And you're just like, holy crap. You won't get it. No scientist. You're not just going to run into a scientist who happens to be studying the giant monster for 20 years and is like, well, here is the reason why the monster's. No, right. You're just literally running for your lives in the giant monster.
Yeah. No, I think it makes sense. Let's see if there's any fun facts that we missed.
Well, that is Cube.
That is Cube. The director, Vincenzo, he actually went to high school with actor David Hewlett, who plays Worth. Mm-hmm. So that's how he got the job. And then David Hewlett, who played Worth, recommended that they cast Andrew Miller as Kazan. So because they had worked together on a play. And all the actors who appeared in this movie were on a TV series called Forever Night, which I believe is a Canadian show. So that's a fun little tie.
Oh, cool.
And the Red Rooms contain the most dialogue-heavy scenes in the film, including Worth's big "There is no conspiracy" speech to Holloway.
I do find it very interesting that all the characters are named after famous prisons, with Kazan being a famous prison a mental institute. Then you have Worth, which is the Leavenworth prison in the United States. The Kazan prison is in Russia. Then you have San Quentin, which is in the United States. You have Leavenworth, which is also in the United States.
Well, Leaven and Worth make up one prison.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I said Leavenworth twice. Then you have Holloway Women's Prison, which is in the UK. Then let's see what this is. Centre some de Rennes in France. And then was it Alderson Federal Prison in the US? Not surprised. I actually really don't know where my glasses are. Okay. Don't start, but I really don't know where they are right now. Also, I'm not surprised that like a majority of these prisons are in the United States because we have the most prisons in the whole world.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Big business prisons.
So the majority of this film was shot with a handheld camera, you can tell. And the handles on all the hatches are industrial die holders used for cutting threads on rods and are available in any hardware shop. Ken did not watch this with me because I watched it during the day today, but I want to just show him a hatch and just be like, hey, do you recognize anything? And see if he can identify what the handles are made out of.
Yeah. Originally all the characters were they were supposed to be accountants in the first draft, but they changed it, which I mean, they all would have been good with numbers.
Yeah.
If they were accountants. I don't know how advanced accounting numbers get to, but very interesting. So that's all the fun facts. But before we get into our ratings, Sam, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your podcast and listen and to engage with you on social?
Oh, so you can find my podcast wherever you usually find podcasts: Spotify, Apple, Overcast, Google Music, all of that stuff. I have a YouTube channel which I update semi-regularly. I have a TikTok that I update way more regular than that. I have a Twitter. I have a Facebook.
And if you're watching this visually, it's on the screen. Just look for 4 Minutes Too. That's the name of the podcast. Definitely worth a listen. Getting all of your geek news in 4 minutes or less, or exactly 4 minutes. And definitely check it out. And you guys can always follow us at No More Late Fees on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, Facebook, all of it. I'll start with you, Sam. What is your present day rating of this movie?
2-day rental.
Okay. I am going to say the same. 2-day. Wasn't like horrible, but I don't think I'll rewatch it again. But it does make me intrigued to see what the sequel is about.
Yeah, I am as well. So I do own this only because it was like $4.99 on iTunes one time. And I was just like, oh, well, if I ever want to watch this again, it's worth $5. But I'm going to go 5-day rental. I think the premise is really cool. I think a remake would actually be pretty badass. Like special effects, heightened, like booby trap, like more intricate, thought out booby traps and stuff. I could see this being like a really cool, almost when I watched the movie Escape Room, it felt like this.
Right.
Which I really love. All of those horror movies where you have to think about how you're getting out and not just like balls out, try and bust your way
right.
out. So.
I like fighting my way through personally. Ain't nobody trying to die and think at the same time. It's too stressful. It's too stressful. I need to violently hurt things as I try to live.
But if it does come down to math, I'm dying because math and like sense of direction, like I can't. I'm not good at either one of those things.
I'm lost.
I did up to calculus and I don't remember that shit anymore.
I would also die in the room. I would lean heavily on Leaven, and hopefully hope that she figures it all out soon enough before I die. But yeah, I'm not. If not, I'm just gonna stay at the same room.
I will be positive and a great motivator to any math. If it was Leaven, I'm all about like rubbing her shoulders. If Leaven was a man, I would splash them if they need some motivation. Like I'm doing whatever is needed and whatever skills I have available. And plus I've got snacks. So
Raw snacks.
bra snacks. Come and get them. This episode was brought to you by Bra Snaps.
I heard a commercial in my head. I heard
it.
Now available at your local CVS and Walgreens.
Well, if you have opinions about Cube or Bra Snacks, hit us up at our quick drop 909-601 NMLF. You can twat us at the Twitters, hem us at the threads, or leave a message on our Spotify for Podcasters account, and you could be featured on a future episode.
And we're a little late, very late, and we apologize for this, but we have to wish a very happy birthday to our wonderful Patreon member, Shayla. Thank you for all that you do for this podcast. We love you to death. Thank you so much.
We do love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Join us next week as we dive into the world of killer clowns, I think, because I've never seen it, with Killjoy.
There's clowns on the cover box. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And they got pointy teeth.
I'm so scared.
Yikes. Well, Sam, thank you for choosing Tube, even though it was the wrong movie. I enjoyed the rewatch. And thank you, as always, for joining us. We absolutely love when you are a guest on the pod, and we can't wait to have you back next time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it here too.
And as always, be kind and rewind.
Awesome.